Get ready for a new perspective on the world of law enforcement and social media. Brought to you by PSMA, the experts in public safety social media strategies. And now, welcome to Cop Talk with Chase and Joe.
Well, here we are again, Chase. Another episode of Cop Talk. This is our episode number 3.
Number 3.
Yep. And we're not live. We're not live.
Yeah. Recorded live, though.
That's right. We are
Extra
recorded.
pressure.
Right. That's right.
Selfies are being taken in the office.
So we're just back.
as we go today.
We have a couple of guests with us today. They'll be coming on shortly. We have the wonderful Melanie Howe and the lovely Caitlin Winkle with us. So
they are currently muted.
Yes, I have them. They
may
speak.
remain that way the rest of the show. We're not sure yet. So.
And Chase and I are just back from a whirlwind tour. Tell us,
so we
talk a little bit about that. You had a lot of fun driving on the East Coast. That's my neck of the woods.
I did. We were in Westchester, Pennsylvania. There's an airport about 40 minutes from there, but that's not the one we flew to. We flew to one that was about 2 hours because that's how Joe wanted to travel. And we stayed at a 2.5-star hotel. So all around, it was a pretty good experience. Got to do some driving on the East Coast.
But did you die?
Did not die. I'm back.
There you go. You're good to go.
Yeah, good to go. The training was good. We had agencies from New Jersey, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. So we met some really good folks.
Yeah, that was a great class. Great class. Well, 2 great classes really. Louisville was first, and then right on the heels of that, we jetted out to Baltimore.
Yeah, very different accents.
So
in both classes.
very much.
We got to get the tour.
We had a great time, great group of people in both classes, and had a lot of fun. So, but we're back now for a few weeks. We got Muncie coming up in a couple of weeks, and then
Muncie, Rushville, and then California after that. So
yeah. So, what was your favorite part of the trip?
I mean, the whole trip was pretty fun. I wish we would have spent a little more time sightseeing. But that's always easier said than done when you get to some of those pretty places.
You almost have to throw in an extra day.
Yeah.
Because with the travel and everything and trying to get...
Yeah, you're set to get back to the room, get out of your training clothes.
Yeah. And the only real hiccup we had was the flight was delayed on return about an hour.
Yeah.
So other than that, travel was perfect. Then, of course, the hotel was kind of rough when the elevator broke.
Yeah, they had some issues, but I'm sure it won't be the last time.
It was all right. All right. So we'll bring in our guests. Go ahead, Chase.
So we're going to let our guests real quick just kind of tell you who they are and why they're on here, and then we've got some topics we'll go through. So we'll start over here with Melanie.
Hey, guys. So, Melanie Diane Howe here. I am basically kind of like these guys, really. But I mostly work with the business sector. So entrepreneurs, small businesses, I teach them how to do their own marketing. I definitely am passionate about people doing their own marketing and not fully outsourcing it. And so I just like to teach them and equip them. I teach seminars and classes and getting ready to launch some online courses. I'm pretty excited. I'm excited to be here. I've helped these guys a little bit with a couple of their local classes that they've done, and we are neighbors. Our offices are right down the hall.
Very close neighbors.
And if you don't know Melanie personally, she's really an introvert. It's very, very hard to get her to.
Lots of sarcasm in that. Yeah. One day Chase came down and said he was about to kick down my door. He thought I was being attacked or something in my office because I have a lot of energy. I do, and I like to do Facebook Lives, and so I'm loud, and these guys have my volume adjusted, which is good. But
that's good.
Yeah. So
and so we have an open door policy in our office. We didn't create it; Mel did, but she comes in whenever she wants. So
I do. Sometimes you just gotta. Being self-employed is kind of lonely, and when these guys are here, I love it. I get excited.
Well, we were excited because we started moving in, and then lo and behold, here comes Mel. She's like looking at an office right down the hall from ours. I'm like, well, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think a week after, right?
Yeah. Well,
and social media you need that creative push and you need energy, and so that's what's kind of nice about this. This podcast today, I invited Mel to join us 15 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm, literally.
And gave Caitlin about a 15-minute notice before that. Here we are. So.
Yeah, and I sometimes like to come down and their office is bigger than mine and fancier. If you could only see, mine might have a pretty paint color on it, but theirs has this big old whiteboard, and actually it's a blackboard. That's what we'll say.
It's actually not white.
It's pretty cool. So
it is black plexiglass and heavy.
Yeah,
it's 8 foot by 4 foot, and it was a pain to put on the wall.
Yes, it was.
But it looks great.
It does. Yeah, I'm happy with it.
All right, Caitlin, tell us who you are.
Caitlin Winkle with Meridian Health Services, which is a nonprofit here in Muncie, and I work on the marketing and development teams, which basically it's fundraising for our nonprofit. So the big charity gala in town, Rialzo, has over 1,000 people, and a couple other fundraisers for Meridian. And so with PSMA, I teach the fundraising and Canva seminars. So.
Yeah, so if you don't know what Canva is, we're not going to tell you because we teach that in the class. But those are she teaches some pretty important things. And what we find with a lot of our smaller departments is, the fundraising aspect. That's kind of a lost art, but you can do a lot with social media to purchase some of the things that maybe aren't in your budget. So whether it's a canine, or a bulletproof vest for a canine or whatever it might be, social media is a great platform for that.
Right. Yeah, Chase has done a great job doing fundraising for the Muncie Police Department for canines. That was
so we bought four canines just through Facebook, and so $60,000 altogether is what we raised, and that was just from the community to buy those dogs.
Yeah, it's amazing, and that's the power of social media, like we talk about in our classes, the community engagement and the relationships that you establish with local businesses and the people. It really makes a difference.
Yeah, it's getting that message out. I mean, it would have taken forever to go door to door at businesses, and you would have had the people that told you no,
right?
Which would all take your energy away.
Right.
But through social media, they kind of pick and choose who interacts and who says, "Hey, I'm in," and you get people from the woodwork that maybe you would have never even thought to go through.
Never would have imagined they step up, volunteer, and say, "Hey, I want to be part of that. I want to help you raise the money." So
Absolutely.
And they do, and that's great. That's great for the community. So.
And the other thing I actually really like about using the social media to do that is even if the people don't donate, that raises awareness of what you're doing and the good things you're doing. So, it's kind of a two-prong approach, really.
Right.
So even if they aren't your donors, you're getting the word out about the great things you're doing, and more people know about the canine program locally because of the campaign you did. So
Absolutely.
those
Right.
fundraising
That's
opportunities are great ways to just share the news too.
Well, and if you're going around looking for a $10,000 dog, if you're asking, "Hey, I want to raise $10,000," that scares people. There's certain businesses that can do that, and there's a lot of businesses that can't.
Well, I think a lot of people don't even realize just the value of the canine.
Yeah, they have no idea what it
Right.
does for the community. But if
Exactly.
you go around and you go, "Listen, we're not asking for $10,000 from one person. We're just telling the community we need to raise $10,000 for one dog."
Right.
And so, like what Mel said, it's a $10 donation, a $100 donation, or $5,000, whatever it is. They're able to chip in and help with that process.
Right.
Caitlin, I thought maybe you'd have some more to add since this is your topic, but you haven't said a word. So.
You guys are just being so insightful today.
Yeah, with four people, it's hard to get a word in. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you're not the one speaking, it's almost like you want to just keep talking like I'm doing right now so nobody else can take over the microphone.
You just got to jump in and,
Yeah.
shut them down.
Keep your words going fast. If you start stuttering, somebody else jumps in.
Yeah.
Right.
So one of the topics that I did want to talk about today, and it kind of ties into the fundraising, is the being social on social media aspect. And I think that this is interesting because in our last class in Pennsylvania, we had some really good agencies there.
Excellent,
we had some newer social media managers that kind of said, "Hey, listen, I got tasked with taking this over, but my agency just wants me to kind of keep doing what they've been doing." And one agency told us they don't respond to any comments. That's their policy.
Yeah.
And another agency told us that they actually have the comments turned off, or hidden. So basically, everyone that talks is kind of just talking to themselves. And we're not going to mention those agencies because we don't want to get anybody in trouble, but it's pretty crazy to think that we're going to pay money to send you to a social media training, but we don't really want you to be social.
And that's one of the things about Facebook too, is if you don't have that kind of engagement is what drives the Facebook algorithm. And if you're not engaging your audience on Facebook, then Facebook thinks that nobody cares about what it is you're posting. So you're not going to reach as many people as you think you're reaching. It's just a bad idea all the way around. It doesn't make Facebook work for you.
It's kind of like posting a notice or a flyer in a locked room. I mean,
That's right.
Not quite that
Well,
drastic.
and I use that. If anybody used to remembers Get Smart, the cone of silence. I use that as a you get this bubble around you, and you're talking to yourself in a bubble.
Yeah.
And nobody else really hears what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think you touched on the Facebook algorithm, and it's totally true. I mean, they absolutely favor posts. Getting organic reach is hard enough as it is, and organic reach is, of course, how people see your post without you putting money behind it, and it's hard enough as it is.
Right, you have to have likes and clicks and shares and all that, and comments. That all drives the algorithm so that you reach more and more people.
And it's actually more than just comments. Facebook actually came out last year and basically said, it's all about conversation
Absolutely.
and interaction back and forth.
Back
they
and
want to
forth,
see
right.
back and forth. So if you're not responding to comments, those comments actually don't have the same weight as if you are going back and forth in the comments. And we all see the posts that we don't even like a certain page, or we're not even friends with a certain person, and it shows up in our feed.
Right.
It's because it's a post that we always use the quotes. I have air quotes right now, gone viral.
Right.
And viral could be locally gone viral. And it's a lot of times it's because of the conversations going on. You'll see someone's comment and you'll click the down arrow and it'll say 14 more replies. It's all about the conversation back and forth.
There was one agency. where they were either hiding or deleting all the comments after they were made. Like they wouldn't let a comment sit there. Like if somebody made a comment, whether it's good or bad, they'd either hide it or delete it. And that gets into First Amendment issues.
Yeah, that's a whole different.
That's a whole other issue with especially with law enforcement and government websites or government pages, that you can't do that because you violate somebody's First Amendment rights.
Right. Caitlin, were you going to participate in this topic, or are we just? Are you just here to listen? Did you just want to hear it recorded?
I just wanted to hear it live.
Oh, okay, great. Well, glad to have you on the show. You've been great. Oh, we're moving microphones.
I'm moving the mic. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was sitting on my feet and now my foot's falling asleep.
All right. So here, no problem.
You're fine.
It's all
there.
good. I'm taking one for the team. You
Joe
guys
looked
gave me
like
the
he
crappy
panicked.
seat. He did.
Joe did not like you touching his
No,
microphones.
you can move as much as you want.
This is, by the way, this is a great setup these guys have in here.
Yeah,
this is making me real jealous right now.
Pretty cool.
Makes my stuff
Well, we're
look
going to
junky.
probably be doing more work with Mel here in the future. So.
It'll be fun. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I can already tell it's going to be hard to keep us on topic. So as we talk about being social,
Well,
on
you are the
social media-
taskmaster.
I'll take charge here. As we talk about this, Mel brought up a really good point, the conversational part of social media. And so one of the things we told the last group was to challenge you not only just to respond to those comments, those fans that get on there and go, hey, we love your police department. You're so great. Well, show them some love back. Hey, thanks for the support. Maybe even ask them a question, because if you ask them a question, chances are they're going to respond. And so it's increasing that conversation. Right. The example I give in every class is it's kind of like if your neighbor, and I may have said this in the last show, but if your neighbor comes over and puts a note on your door, and she does it every day, and you get home and you read the note and you just throw it away, right? How long is she going to do that before she gets tired of leaving the note there? Exactly. That's the same thing with your fan base.
Exactly. And there's no reason not to at least like the comments. Like you can go through if somebody says, hey, you guys do a great job, at least, go through and hit like on each of those comments. If you're not going to respond back, do something.
You need to
sit
respond.
there. Yeah, you do.
I mean, that's
really
the end of the day.
But do something. You got to do something.
Yeah,
you just can't sit there.
So I think that a strategy, because sometimes, especially if you have a post that you end up getting a lot of comments, or the comments continue to happen over a period of time, like a series of days, and you've already moved on to other posts and tasks, and especially if it's a popular post, one of the ways that you can keep up with it is to know, like, okay, I've already taken care of it, is to respond in the comment and then like that person's comment. That's kind of like your checklist. So when you go and you quickly look at the comments, especially if it's a live video, that's where it's really difficult, because it's hard to actually just go and look and see the comments in order, because sometimes the way you're viewing it, and it's just Facebook can be challenging. But when you respond, then you like the comment, and it's kind of like your little checklist. So that when you go and you glance back at the comments and you see, oh, here's a couple that I haven't liked yet. I clearly haven't seen these and responded to them yet.
Right. Yeah,
that's a great little tip to just make sure you go in and do it.
That's an excellent point, because I've dealt with viral posts where you start getting hundreds of thousands of views and thousands, literally, of comments and likes, et cetera. And it's hard to keep track of that. But what Mel just said is exactly right. You can do that by clicking like.
And we're seeing a lot of agencies across the country respond with GIFs. Maybe they don't want to take the time to type out thoughtful, responses or whatever. Sure. So they're responding with funny but lighthearted GIFs, and that works for them. It wouldn't work for everybody, but it works for some of them.
Right.
Caitlin, did you have something to throw in?
I can't take you seriously when you say GIF.
Well, sometimes I say GIF.
Well, yeah, I kept correcting it.
It's a challenge in class.
So
I told them GIF is the peanut butter and GIF is
it's such a debate. Like, honestly, you guys, if you're listening to this, you need to tell these guys, tell us what you think. Is it GIF or GIF? And I used to always say GIF, like, constantly, just because, JPEG, that's not how, that's spelled, but we just all say JPEG.
Right.
Like,
right.
But so I've always said GIF, but someone said to me, well, do you say GIFT when you give someone a present for Christmas? I'm like, no. They're like, you give them a gift. It's a gift. I'm like, you just ruined my everything.
Man.
So now I don't even remember what the hell I'm supposed to say. And I say GIF and GIF. I don't know. I just say whatever you want to call it.
I change it up every class.
Yeah.
And I think we laugh and debate it every time.
Yes.
And I never think about the word until I'm about to say it. So, of
Right.
course, I have that internal panic.
Right.
But
funny.
yeah. So real quick, we'll take a second to talk about some of these agencies just aren't receiving comments. They're not getting that interaction to even respond to the comments. So what are some tips on that, to get comments on your posts?
Well, have a post that's meaningful to start with. I mean, that's key. And I think the other thing, too, is, what I talk about a lot is having an image or a video, something that grabs your attention, something that grabs the attention of the viewer. Because if you just have and I never should post just text alone, because those just get breezed right through in the news feed. Nobody will even click on it. So having a good photograph, a good graphic, or a video that's the starting point. In my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's totally true. The text only tends to be pretty challenging. In fact, I always say, if you kind of need to post something out of necessity and you don't want people to see it, then just do a text only post. But another strategy is prompting people to comment, and not simply by saying, hey, make a comment, like, oh, share this post. Like that actually, sometimes Facebook's algorithm will see those words and they feel like you're clickbaiting.
Right? Yeah.
And so it's like Joe said, obviously always offer value, but create commentate the post in a way that makes people want to respond. So ask a question, like simply like creating a picture, describing what's in the picture, and then asking a question that's related. That is a great way to get people to comment, for sure. Another one that's really cool is polls. People love polls.
That's a good idea. Right.
So, and now if you're in a private group, you have unlimited options as far as the responses that you can create. But on an actual business page, which, the agency pages or business pages, that you get 2 options right now, one, yes or no, and you can type in what you want it to be. So it's a great way to like learn about your audience, but also get that engagement. And the more your page gets engagement, the more your overall posts are going to perform, for sure. So yeah, I definitely think that just prompting something, making it a prompting post so that they want to respond to it, for sure.
Caitlin, what do you think?
I like the polls idea because every time I see a poll, I almost always vote on it.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Do you guys use polls?
Ranch or ketchup? I want to vote on that.
Pepsi or Coke? Sprite?
Yeah, exactly. We don't use polls, but another strategy I was thinking of was including people or like members. So the officer bios that you guys talk about in the class, like grandma, aunt from Florida, they're always going to comment when they see those pictures and those people. So
you guys can't see it because you can't see this show. You can only hear it. But Caitlin she's a swivel chair girl. She's moving around her chair, and she has been the whole show. So if you can't hear her all the time, that's why.
Yeah, she's fine.
Back and forth. Yeah,
I'm listening. Her audio's fine. She's all right.
Okay. Well, Joe says it's great.
It's a great balance in the room, and Caitlin is a true introvert. Like she truly is.
She would be way okay with just sitting here and listening to us.
Right.
So but if you didn't include her, she'd be mad that she's not here. But she's way okay with just watching us.
Caitlin offers a lot of value, though.
She's very talented in Canva, and so everybody always really enjoys that class when we talk about it, and that certainly helps with some of the things Joe's talking about. Having that quick image that you can design, or a graphic that goes along with the post if you need to just get something out. And some of this, one of the things Joe talked about quality content, and we talk about this in every class, is you can't just post road closures. I mean, that can't be your thing. You can't just be road closures and arrests and that be it. You've got to be social. You've got to show the side. You've got to include people from the agency and give people a reason to interact, in a friendly, fun way and not just all business.
And the one thing with road closures too, or just road conditions in general, it's better to keep that off Facebook because those posts don't do well on Facebook generally. If it's a major incident and you need to inform people, put it on Facebook and say, hey, this road's going to be closed for a period of time, but follow updates on Twitter and drive people to your Twitter account. That's why I recommend all agencies have at least Facebook and Twitter so that they can utilize both.
Great point. I know that just as a regular citizen, if there's something funky going on, or there's a road that's closed, or there's a lot of sirens or something, I actually don't even go. I will literally go to Twitter, and I don't really. I'm not very active on Twitter, but I will go to Twitter if it's something I think is that there might be quick news, and I will go seek out the police department's Twitter, and I will look and see, is there an update?
Right.
And so I think you're right. I think people think of Twitter as the news source, and it's the newsworthy.
It's more up to the minute for one thing, and the other thing is you can post multiple times to Twitter, and you're not going to hurt your algorithm. Now, Twitter has its own algorithm, but if you kept posting your updates on Facebook, eventually people are not going to interact with it. And the algorithm's going to tank, and then more people aren't going to see it.
We have experienced that with the Ducky Derby. It got rained out.
There you go.
So we posted, it's rained out, don't show up or whatever. And then we posted again, when it was rescheduled, and the rescheduled one didn't perform. I mean, 2 people saw it, I think. And so,
yeah, Twitter is probably a better platform for that sort of thing. So.
And I think the same thing goes for Twitter. You got to respond to if people are tweeting at you or mentioning you, or you got to be ready to respond.
That's right.
How do you guys? I always think about with you guys especially. I know you guys deal with, and I think a lot of the agencies, especially talking about the ones that have their commenting feature turned off or they're hiding stuff. It's probably a little bit fear based because you guys are in an industry. I mean, most of my clients. We want comments. They want conversation. Right. Whereas you guys, it's like, oh, here we go. We got to post about this. And there's a lot of haters out there, and you guys deal with that. I mean, I think that it's amazing that what you're able to do, and you guys do such a good job talking about how to deal with negativity and all those things. And I know, Joe, I think you have a whole entire session in it in the
I
course.
talk about that a lot. Yeah.
Well, trust me, I cringe all the time. I mean, when I have to post for my home agency, I cringe all the time because we're not in an industry that's liked. We're 50-50 maybe. And the people that are opposed to the police or don't like the police are way more vocal than the people that like the police. I mean, the older people like us, your law-abiding citizens, but you have so many people that just do not like public safety, specifically police,
law enforcement,
that they're very vocal. And so those are going to be the ones that hijack your posts and get on there. And then you take into account that now maybe you're posting something about an arrest. So that now there's the emotions, there's the family wanting to support this person, or the family that's reading all these comments saying, great job arresting this, person, and they're jumping on there wanting to defend the person. And so you get into these ugly debates and then you talk about laws, laws, not everybody's on the same page, of what should be criminal and what shouldn't. So you start factoring that in when you talk drugs and things like that. So you're right. I mean, it's, a lot of that is fear-based, I think. And a lot of, we hear a lot in these classes that they'll post something, and then it'll start getting those negative comments, and the chief will just say, delete the whole post. And so they take down this post that maybe had really good content or had a really great message, but somebody hijacked it, and next thing you know, the administration, out of fear, is just saying, hey, we don't want that post up.
But that's also a double-edged sword, because now you're taking that down and you're violating people's First Amendment rights by taking that down, because now you've silenced their opinions. So, and what I talk about, one of the main things I talk about in my dealing with negativity is, if you build a good community and a good following, your community will come to your defense. If people start quoting negative things on a positive post, you'll see tons of people start attacking the person that was negative.
Absolutely. So, and we had somebody bring up in the last class a pretty interesting point. They said, we don't respond to any comments. And the reason we don't respond to any comments is because we don't want to set the precedent that we do respond to comments. Yep. And so that way, when a negative comment comes across, it doesn't look like we're just ignoring them. We ignore everybody. And I thought, just because you respond to your supporters doesn't necessarily mean you owe a response to everybody. What I mean by that is, if somebody has a legitimate concern or a legitimate problem, and Mel and I talked about this the other day on the live, is respond to them. Right. Offer a way for them to reach out to you and to fix the problem. Don't get into this pissing match, but offer them a solution, right? But just because you're responding to anybody doesn't mean all of a sudden if somebody's just spamming your page that you owe them a response. You just scroll on past it. And so if you get somebody on there that's wanting to be divisive or wanting to throw things on there that don't have anything to do with the post, just ignore them.
That's right.
You're ignoring everybody else right now, so why not just ignore the people that are problem makers?
It's kind of true. And Joe, you made a great point about, your community will come in and back you up. And I think that a lot of times those negative comments, you don't even have to do anything because people will come to your rescue, if you will. But how you build that community of support is by being social. I mean, it's not just because you're trying to help the algorithm. It's just the right thing to do. I mean, I love your analogy, Chase, about the note on the door from the neighbor. I mean, it's just, you're not going to be like a jerk and ignore. I mean, you're going to acknowledge that, right? And I always say, you are who you are on social media. And same thing goes for the agencies. If somebody calls the station or somebody calls you and they want to have a conversation, you're not going to ignore them. You're going to take the call. You're going to deal with it. And so if you're going to be on social media, you got to be social. You just have to. And if you're not going to, then don't be on there, and the negativity thing, I think you guys make great points. And I think that you guys do a really good job of implementing a strategy, helping create a strategy about how to deal with that stuff, because it is absolutely a huge part of what you guys do and deal with.
And having a comment policy, I think, is huge. You really, your Facebook.
Did you say huge?
Huge.
Yes.
It's huge.
Oh, I love it. Huge.
I don't even know if he meant to. I'm not sure.
I think he did.
He looks so comfortable in that chair. I'm not sure he's just leaning back. He's comfortable.
Yeah, I'm comfortable.
He's the only one that doesn't seem bothered by the fact that he's got these headphones and this microphone. It
doesn't bother me a bit. No, I'm used to this.
This is what he does at home.
I do. No, but you have to have a comment policy, because you need this. It's something you stick with, and it gives you some backup too if you do delete posts or.
And we talk a lot in the class. This is being decided in the courts as we go, as far as social media and the government and what's a First Amendment violation and what's not. And can you delete it? Can you not? And you'll have all kinds of experts tell you different things on it. But we always tell people 2 simple steps. 1, have the comment policy, because it's not going to hurt anything. And 2, talk to your local attorney. Is it the county attorney, the city attorney, whoever represents your agency, and ask that attorney, because at the end of the day, when you do get sued, or if you do get sued, that's the one that's going to represent you. So follow their, take that heat off of you. One thing I wanted to point out real quick is Chief Hauser. We had him in the Louisville class here recently. And he was kind of sat in the room, didn't give us a ton of feedback. But what he did was he left and he really started changing the way he was doing social media. And he's funny, he's witty, and he is posting quite a bit. And he has had a tweet now get picked. There's no editing. This will be there. Get picked up by one of the local news agencies. The tweet did, and became a news story.
Yeah.
And, he thought, man, this is pretty cool. And then the other day, he got retweeted by somebody with like 133,000 followers. And that post has gone pretty viral.
That's
and
huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
That is huge.
And so he has just really seen some successes, and I think that it's cool because he's a part of an administration. We don't see that very often.
Sure.
Where we've got now an assistant chief who's going, hey, this is working.
Yeah.
So I just can't wait to see what his agency is going to do.
And a lot of the problems, that's where the problems stem from, is the people in charge. The people at the top are the ones curtailing the people beneath that say, hey, we could do great things with social media, but they won't let them.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid or they don't think it's relevant or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, most of these agencies that are doing really, really great things, it's because they've got an administration that either was okay with it or let it happen, and then once it was successful, jumped on board.
Right. The administration has to buy into it.
Absolutely.
If they're not bought in, then you got a problem.
Yeah.
And if you start getting the administration good news, if the news agencies start calling because you're posting stuff on social media and it's good publicity,
Yeah, they love it.
they will give you more and more rope.
Absolutely.
Just, hey, let's see a little bit more. Let's see what else you can do.
That's right. That's right.
I have a question for you guys. So when it comes to, obviously we're talking about posts in the comments and responding and being social in that way. How are you guys handling your direct messages?
And so you should respond to every direct message. It's a pain. And I think that for police agencies specifically, and I need to quit saying specifically because it's hard to say on this. I think I say it weird because I can hear myself so crisp.
Specific.
Yeah, specifically. But anyways, you should respond to all those comments. And, the police departments are getting the comments like, hey, there's a loud car on the road, or somebody's driving too fast through the neighborhood, or, they're basically sending you messages of things they should be calling dispatch and telling. So just responding with that, and we always show them how to set up the auto response and all that, but then finding the ones where maybe you can give them a little bit more. Hey, did your issue get resolved? Doing a follow up. Hey, that's good information. I can pass it on to the narcotics guys, the drug houses or whatever. But
we used to receive a lot of tips that way.
Yeah.
Especially for drug dealing activities.
And you're
things
also
like
going to
that.
get a lot of messages just from people that say, hey, we appreciate what you do. And those are the ones you certainly should be responding to and going a little bit above and beyond.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's also important, like you said, the auto response, to have that set up so that when they send a message, it comes back to them immediately that this is not an emergency
That's good.
communications device. If you have an emergency, dial 911, because sometimes people think, I'll just message them on Facebook and then they'll send an officer out. Well,
Right.
It doesn't always work that way because somebody may be monitoring, somebody may not be. So
Yeah, and
you
I
have to
think
call
that
911.
the simple follow up after that, depending on your resources and the amount of messages you're receiving on a day-to-day basis, like my local department, we're probably only receiving somewhere between 6 and 10 a day. It's manageable to respond to those. So I think the quick follow up, hey, did we get you taken care of last night? I know the police probably came out if you called and all that.
If you do that within a day or two, I think you're fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Good.
Well, all right. What do you think? Anything else, Chase?
Caitlin, did you have any final thoughts?
When you guys were talking about auto messages, I wanted to call them away messages from the AOL MSN Messenger
AIM.
days.
It is.
back in the
There
day.
is like an away. There's an away feature, I think.
There is
But yeah.
actually an away feature too.
Yeah.
But I think that's more for
That's
businesses than
My only
because
contribution.
law enforcement.
I was
and-
going to say, you don't
we're
really
never-
want
we're
to
never
say that you're
away.
away, right?
We're never away.
But that's just interesting. I mean, it's a lot of the stuff that you guys talk about in your classes and the stuff that we talk about all the time it's very applicable to both business and your public safety. But there are
Absolutely.
so many unique, aspects. I mean, the First Amendment situation, that's something that's very unique to you.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
what is, I think, so great about, I'm so excited for your podcast and everything, because I think that it's just a great way for you to actually have these conversations, because you can go Google, social media management and even, fundraising and all these things. And it's very much towards nonprofit and business. And you guys are able to actually cater to the unique needs of, your students, which are, they're very much in a niche or a niche.
A niche.
Yeah, and I think it's there's a power in attending the class and seeing, here are some Facebook posts that have been caught by the news or whatever, and then it
Absolutely.
just gives them this, sense of I can do that too.
Well, I think in just showing the possibilities, the different things you can do. I mean, producing videos, the simple videos to the complex, the good photos versus bad photos. I think just the whole picture. It's just about the big picture.
my mom is texting me during this podcast, and she's texted me like 7 times. So I'm like, Mom, I can't do whatever you need me to do right now. I don't know what's going on.
I'm on the air.
She's calling me. She's texting me. I'm live on the radio.
I'm live on the radio.
Yeah. So no, and one thing I did want to add about the class, and this happens even to me, every time I attend, is the energy you get just from being around other people that are doing the same thing.
There's power.
Yeah, and so you get these ideas, and and I used to do this all the time when I'd go to training. It wasn't ever the topic that I was being trained on. It was the ideas I came up in my head while I'm not listening. You're sitting there and you're like, oh, you're taking notes, but you're coming up with what you want to do when you get back home.
Yeah.
And some of that is just from being in that room with people that are kind of like-minded and hearing some ideas and all of that.
Well, they say every good teacher learns from their students.
Yeah, I learned stuff every class.
I think it's totally
teacher
true. Yeah, the questions they ask, and I think it's a community. You guys are building a community, and I love that once someone takes a class, they get put into the private Facebook group, and I know Caitlin and I are in there too, and it's just great. The conversations that are going on after the class,
absolutely,
is awesome. And you're right. It's I'm sure that these public safety, agencies they feel a little bit on an island because, like I said, the resources really aren't there. You go Google this stuff, and the stuff that shows up is usually for businesses and you guys are able to cater to their needs and their specific needs. And the whole aspect of they're in the room with other people doing what they're doing and facing the same challenges, there's power in that. Any situation, go to a business conference, it's the same thing. It's just, there's power in that, camaraderie. And I love that you guys are able to create that, but also foster the community after the class by putting them into the group where they can, continue to learn, but also continue to support each other and share wins and successes and all those things.
And failures.
Yeah.
And
learn from them.
Ask questions. Why didn't this work? And I think that's a huge part of it too. So.
And it's a matter of being social. If you go into a Facebook group or a community and you just sit there like a wallflower, you're not going to get that much out of it.
Oh, we have people in the group that are like Caitlin. They don't say a word. You know what I mean? They'd be on a podcast and not talk.
They're introverts. They're soaking it in. They're thinking through stuff.
But they're listening.
I was going to say, wait till after. I was going to say, tomorrow she can write a blog post about this,
Yeah. Tonight she'll be like, I had so many things I forgot to say.
Exactly. Well, we'll have to have her on again then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's easy. She doesn't talk. Yeah, she can be on all of them.
We'll just say, Caitlin's here, but she's not talking
here.
today.
You just don't know it. So one reminder before we get off here, I do want to tell you that if you have questions, and we'll answer them on future shows, if you want to tweet us, that's probably the easiest way, at PSMA Training.
That's right.
Shoot us a tweet if you have questions or things you deal with, and we will make sure to talk about it on one of the future shows.
Yeah, find us on Facebook. You can email Chase go ahead, Chase, give me your email address.
You think you'd remember it since you bring this up every time?
It's cwinkle.
cwinkle at psmatraining.com. We respond to questions there really quick too, and obviously www.psmatraining.com if you're interested in the class.
Yep. You also link to our podcast there. You link to our podcast we're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google. I think those are the main ones anyway.
Joe's really geeked about that.
And
so when he got on iTunes,
I am geeked about being on iTunes.
Like I get geeked when we make sales. Joe gets geeked when we get added to iTunes. That's kind of where we're at. So.
I think that it's you guys really do have a great podcast here, and I'm sure that your listeners are appreciating it. And if you guys want to help them, honestly, go leave a review for them. Leave a review for the podcast on iTunes. It really will be great. And I know that these guys are always talking strategy, and we're always brainstorming stuff, but you never know. Maybe they'll give you a shout out on one of the future podcasts if you leave them a review and all that stuff.
If someone shows me how to read the reviews, I have no idea what I'm doing on podcasts.
We'll add it to
I'll read the reviews and I'll read the reviews and
Joe's job.
I don't know why I'm here.
Because you have such a great voice.
Are you telling me these shows get put out to the world? I didn't know. I thought this was
everybody
just
can
something
hear
we
it.
did.
Super fun.
Yeah. We have followers in
wow
in the Ukraine for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, good.
That's interesting.
Oh my God! All you need is a troll out there coming in. And
no, so far no trolls. I hope. Yeah.
I love
So,
it.
all right. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll be back again next week. And I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. Share us with your friends.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Cop Talk. To learn more, visit our website at psmatraining.com.